Hey team, hope you're all doing well. Today's topic is how long after a race should you do another race? And this question comes from Rich Dad Charty 8113, who asked, how long after a race can I do another race? Context: I did a half marathon on Sunday, was doing an average of around 6:40 per mile because I wanted to run around 1 hour and 30 minutes or less to beat my last race from 2021 of 1:36. Had cramps starting at mile 9 until the finish line. The rest of the miles went around 7:45 and had to stop a few times to stretch. Feeling sore still, but feeling better. I was thinking about doing a 4-miler military run on the 4th of November. Is this too soon? I think based off of the fact that this particular question was asked about 7 days ago, Charlie, definitely, I think doing a 4-miler after doing a half marathon is okay. I think if you were doing another half marathon in that time frame, that's asking a little bit too much. And of course, we are going to have our own different opinions on this. But I think if it's the shorter races, you can recover a lot better versus 10-milers, 25Ks, half marathons, or marathon races. I think you really have to keep in mind that not trying to push the pedal too much too soon in a buildup and trying to do too much racing. Okay, I think in your case, and kudos to you, man. You still ran very strong for this particular event. As you know, the half marathon, it's complex. It's, and all the races are. I mean, whether you run an 800, where you have to be really strategic and you have to be in phenomenal anaerobic shape, but also have that endurance as well. But the half marathon and marathon distances are so complex and require so much energy, and nutrition comes into play. All of those things, you're building up even more inflammation going these distances. So you do have to be very cognizant of how often you're pushing yourself in races. I think based off of your question here, because I get a lot of comments, I try to go through them all, but it does take time to answer these. I think the fact that you aiming going after a 4-mile military run on the 4th of November, that's okay. Okay, if you were aiming to run a marathon or a half marathon again, going into, after considering you just ran this half marathon just recently, again, it's tough to bounce back and recover from these longer races. And again, it does take time. It takes time to adapt to what we throw at ourselves in training. And, I always mention it. I go back to what the late Dr. Joe Vigil said in his book, Road to the Top. He says it takes about 28 days for your body to physiologically adapt to the stressors you're placing on it. So you have to be aware of the fact that how much recovery time are you actually giving yourself in your buildups. And I think that in terms of running a half marathon, doing a half marathon, maybe doing a 5K or 10K a couple weeks after you run a half marathon, that's okay. I don't think racing every single weekend is always the best plan of action. Yes, there are runners out there that do it. There are runners out there who run marathons just about every week or every month, which I personally wouldn't have been able to handle even in my prime. I just think, every athlete's different. Some athletes will race every single weekend. But I think you got to also remember that these workouts that you're doing on top of your half marathon races, like you did just recently or about a week ago, the workouts you're doing, whether they're track workouts or on the roads, those types of workouts are also kind of like mini races as well. You prepare yourself to get ready. But I think that the longer the race, you should be giving yourself more time. Like if I'm running a half marathon, I'm not aiming to run another half marathon in the next week. I would probably think about running maybe another half marathon in maybe like 4 weeks to 5 weeks down the line. But again, use the track workouts, the hill repetitions, your long runs. Use those particular types of preparatory efforts as kind of like mini races. You don't necessarily have to jump in a race every single weekend or every other weekend unless you want to, but be aware of the fact that, hey, am I really giving myself enough time to fully adapt and fully recover before I do another hard race? I think definitely as I mentioned, the longer the races, the more time you want to give yourself between efforts. If it's a half marathon, like I said, it's going to vary from athlete to athlete. For me, I would think about running another half marathon, like I said, about 4 to 5 weeks after I ran the first half marathon. If it's a 5K, if it's a 10K, a 2-miler on the roads or on the track, things like that, you can run another race of those shorter distances, maybe every week or every other week. I would prefer maybe every other week versus keep racing every single weekend. Again, you don't want to get stale too with what you're doing. And again, there's only so many times we can continue to push ourselves really hard in training and expect a high return on your investment, your time investment. You're spending a lot of effort in training, but you have to really focus also on what are you doing the other hours of your day after you do your track session, after you do your road workout. Are you paying attention to your sleep? Are you paying attention to your nutrition, hydration? Are you overanalyzing the workouts, the races, things like that? The amount of unnecessary stress that we place on ourselves, and I know this firsthand because I did it too earlier in my career. The less amount of mental stress and physical stress that you can place on yourself, the better. Especially mental stress. Physical stress is bound to come with working out. Okay, but again, even doing faster, harder anaerobic workouts or doing races like this, they're forms of mental training. Because it's going to toughen yourself to be out there putting in the work and training, and then going out and racing. But in answering your question, how long after a race can I do another race? Think about how you're feeling in training. Do you really need to run another race? Can't you, can you do like if you're training for, say, a half running, if you're thinking about running another half marathon, shortly after running another one, think about, well, can I do maybe, instead of doing another race, can I do maybe 2 or 3-mile tempo efforts in a workout instead of doing that race? Or maybe 5 times 2K, or 8 times 1K on, 1K off in training. Really doing a very hard anaerobic workout, but not necessarily having to jump in a race again. I think that what you're doing here in terms of asking the question of, do I think that doing a 4-mile military run on the 4th of November is too soon? I think that's okay, because you ran this half marathon about a week ago, a little over a week ago now. And so I think that's okay. You're giving yourself about a couple extra weeks of recovery. Yes, you're still doing the training, you're still stressing yourself in your workouts, but this race is only 4 miles. Okay, I think that's a much better plan of action versus if you were going to run a 10-mile race on the 4th. Yeah, you still could do it, but still, again, it comes back to the fact that how are you feeling in training? If you're feeling overly fatigued, it's not worth it. But I think these shorter races, like a 5K or a 4-mile race, yes, that's okay. You've given yourself enough time also to recover. And if you're not planning on peaking for this race, continue to train through it. Give yourself maybe 2 days of easy jogging or off the day before, or the 2 days before the 4-miler. But don't do a huge taper for this particular race. Just keep building, especially if you're focusing on another goal race that's after this 4-mile military run on the 4th. Okay, so I hope this answers your question, Rich Dad Charty 8113. I wish you the very best in your upcoming races, and great job having run that 1:36 half marathon in 2021. I think you're going to absolutely destroy an hour and 30 minutes this year. So keep up the great work. Stay focused. Focus on the other fundamentals too that I talk about: sleep, nutrition, hydration, not stressing yourself, not over analyzing. The workouts we do, that's the motivation. You know, push yourself in training, challenge yourself in training to a point where nothing your competition is going to throw at you is going to stress you out. Okay, the time to be stressed out is in training. It's not the race so much. The race is that celebration of the hard work you've been putting in, okay? So I wish you all the best. Keep me posted. Check out the resources below on RunDream or on RunDreamAchieve.com if you're looking to set a new PR. And that's for anybody that's having watched this video this far. There are a lot of resources there that I'm certain will help you in your preparation and training. So thanks so much, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.